about it. Oh. Okay. Yeah, very good. Okay, very good. Yeah, I think that would be excellent. The Roth IRA, is individual, so it will be in his name with his Social Security number, and he has to have the earned income, which he does, and you'll have to have his Social Security number and that proof of income. When opening the account with a brokerage firm like Fidelity or Schwab. But I think it's a great way to start saving for the future. You put in the after-tax dollars, you get that invested, and then it'll grow tax-free. And, 20, 30, 40 years from now, he'll have quite a nest egg there that will be able to pull out completely tax-free. In terms of the investment opportunities, you've got a couple of approaches. I mean, with that amount of money, and there's no problem with opening an account with $200, many of the firms that I mentioned, like Fidelity or Schwab, basically have no minimums, maybe $100. But you will need to decide where to invest it. So a couple of options. Option one would be you maybe pick a high quality faith-based investing mutual fund to drop that money into. Another approach would be something called a robo-advisor, which essentially uses the market indexes to capture the broad moves of the market, and it's very low cost. And anytime you add something to it, if you wanted to, monthly or one time a year, it would automatically be reinvested in a way that's appropriate for his age and risk tolerance. And again, it's very inexpensive. And so if you wanted to look at something like that, you could use the Schwab Intelligent Portfolios. I think that's a great option if you just put that into your internet search engine, Schwab Intelligent Portfolios. Another option would be one called Betterment, Betterment. Either of those, I think, would allow you to open that Roth for him and make that contribution and then get that money working.
Oh, good. Okay, thanks.
Okay, you're welcome, Diane. Thanks for your call today. To Texas. Hi, Christina. Go ahead.
Yes, good morning. I have sold yesterday a house that was only $75,000 because it was just a little bitty house on my property. Needed some work, but I need a new car and pay off some debt. And all of a sudden I realized there's probably a gain tax on it. And that would kind of put a wrench on my paying off some of my debts. And if there is such tax, do you know what's the percentage on it?
Yeah, it's a great question. Now, did you say, so this was a second home, but on your property, right? But you didn't live in this?
Correct.
Okay, and what is your filing status, Christina? How do you file? Do you file single or married?
Married, and
Married.
I'm 71 years old. So
Okay. Yeah, very good. So married filing jointly, if this is an investment property or a second home, one that you don't live in as your primary residence, you're going to need to look at the capital gains tax rates. And basically, you've got to get above $96,000 for you to have any capital gains tax. And that first threshold is where you have combined income of $96,000 up to $600,000. Now, the combined income that is used to determine whether you're, what threshold you're in, not only includes your income, but you have to add the capital gain as well. So how much did you make in profit on this property that you sold?
It's hard to tell because the property that I bought, the whole thing, was $250,000, and so now we sold this house. So I don't know if the whole $75,000 would be a capital gain.
No, so you paid $250,000, and then that included this second home that you sold?
Correct.
Okay, yeah. So you're going to have to determine how much of that original purchase was allocated to this property. and then you'll have to, you'll be able to compare the $75,000 you sold it for to the original cost basis for the portion of the property that was a part of that original purchase. So let's say out of the 250, I'm just making up a number here, 35,000 of the 250 was for this second home, and then you sold it for 75. Well, your gain would be 40 on that portion. Now, the gain, whatever it is, when added to your other income, would have to get above $96,701 for you to have any capital gains tax. But if it did, then you'd have to pay 15% of the gain, not the whole sale, just the gain. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Oh,
Okay.
you just made my day.
So here's what I would do. I would connect with a certified public accountant, Christina, because you want to get this right. And you're going to need to have somebody kind of walk you through the methodology of how you calculate what the gain was in order to determine whether or not you have to report it as a capital gain. And so get with a CPA. Even if you don't normally do that, this would be the year to do it. And you can make sure that you do that correctly. But at the most, it would be 15% of whatever the gain is for that particular portion of the property that you sold.
Okay, well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
You're very welcome. Thanks for your call today. Lord bless you. Let's go to Alabama. Hi, Joyce. How can we help?
Good morning, good afternoon, whichever time it is.
You know what? You're welcome. I apologize. I wasn't looking at the clock correctly. So let's do this, Joyce. I'm going to take a quick break, and you'll be first up when we get to the other side of that break. So you stay right there, and I'll look forward to hearing your question. Folks, we do have room for perhaps one or two more questions before we round out the broadcast today. The number to call, 800-525-7000. If you have a financial question, 800-525-7000. This is Faith and Finance on American Family Radio, and we'll be right back.
Faith and Finance is underwritten by certified Kingdom advisor Kevin Bruce with Align Investment Research, helping families across Collin County honor God by stewarding wealth with wisdom and purpose. Because true peace of mind comes from aligning wealth with God's design. Learn more at align7.com or call 972-972-8465. 972-972-8465. Align is a registered investment advisor.
And your faith with Family Talk.
I had the same brain when I was at the bottom of the class that I had at the top of the class. Exactly the same brain, but a different attitude. What does that tell us about our responsibility to develop the intellect of the people in our spheres of influence?
Don't miss Family Talk with Dr. James Dobson every weekday at 6:30 a.m. and 9:30 p.m. Central on AFR. We're grateful for support from Guidestone, whose diversified suite of investment solutions align with Christian values to create positive change in the world. More information is available at guidestonefunds.com/faith. Investing involves risk, including potential loss of principal. Carefully consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of Guidestone Funds before investing. They're distributed by Foresight Funds Distributors, LLC, which is not an advisory affiliate, a registered investment advisor, nor do they provide investment advice.
Jesus said, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Today, put your heart into something that makes an eternal impact. Heart for Lebanon is sharing the gospel and protecting girls from early marriage, child labor, and violence. Your gift of $114 helps reach 3 at-risk girls with hope and a brighter future. Give generously. Text FAITH to 98656. That's FAITH to 98656. Or visit faithfi.com/Lebanon.
Hey, great to have you with us today on Faith and Finance here at American Family Radio. I'm Rob West. Joining me in the studio in a few minutes is Taylor Stanrich. Taylor's our production manager here at Faith Fi. He's responsible for the daily syndicated broadcast. We'll have an opportunity to chat with him in a few moments. We're taking your calls and questions, though, and Joyce has been waiting patiently in Alabama. Joyce, go ahead with that question. How can I help?
Thank you so much for taking my call. I just purchased a new SUV about a week or two ago, and I was informed there is an option to do the bi-weekly payments. I had never heard of that before in regards to vehicles. I knew about it as it related to housing. houses, but not on vehicles. So my question is, would it be to my advantage to do the biweekly option rather than the once per month option, as far as paying on the principal or knocking the interest out? So that's my
Yeah.
question.
It absolutely would. So if you have that option, and a lot of times you can do it yourself, but if they're making it available to you, it'll actually make it a little simpler because they're ready for it and they'll apply it appropriately. But basically, it reduces the interest costs and shortens the loan. And here's why. Instead of one monthly payment, let's take a $400 a month car payment, you pay half of that amount every 2 weeks, so $200 every 14 days. And since there's 52 weeks in a year, you're going to make 26 half payments, which equals 13 full payments instead of the usual 12 when you're paying monthly. And so that extra 13th payment is going to allow you to pay that straight to principal and thereby reduce the balance faster. Less principal means less interest accrues over time. So, you know, on a $20,000 5-year loan at, let's say, 6%, a pretty typical rate right now, you know, switching to biweekly could save you, you know, hundreds of dollars at a minimum and shave, you know, a good number of months off the loan. You know, which is a good thing because you'll pay it off quicker. I mean, even if you paid it off in 4.5 years instead of 5, you know, that's a benefit. Now, not all lenders will allow those biweekly payments automatically. So if yours does, I think take full advantage of it.
Okay. All right, very good. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome. Thanks for your call today, Joyce. We appreciate it. Back to Texas. Spending a lot of time in Texas today. Charles, go ahead, sir.
Yes, good morning. My mother passed away in October of last year, and my sister and I both inherited it. And we're going to sell it probably next month. My question is, in Texas, there's no inheritance tax, but is there inheritance tax federally?
Yeah. There's no federal inheritance tax either, so there's nothing to worry about there. Essentially, you know, what you're talking about is potentially a capital gain. Now, the benefit of inheriting a home is you get what's called a step up in basis. So the home's tax basis steps up to its fair market value as of the date of your mom's death. So if she bought it for $100,000, it's worth $300,000 when she passes. Your basis is now $300,000. And if you sell it soon after, you'd owe zero in capital gains because there's no profit. If it appreciated, let's say you held it for a year and you sold it for $350,000, well, then you'd have a $50,000 gain, and you would have to report that. But essentially, you get the benefit of that step up, and if it's sold shortly after and you can justify that you're basically selling it for the market value as of the date of her death, then there is no capital gain, and there is no federal inheritance tax that you would pay directly as an heir. Any taxes, which most people at this point don't pay them because it has to be a home, or excuse me, an estate that exceeds $13 million. Most estates don't pay estate tax, and there's no inheritance tax.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your help very much.
Absolutely. Thanks for your call. To Alabama. Hi, Megan. Go ahead.
Hi, yes, thank you. I have a question. My husband and I started generating income a little bit later than most of our peers. He did a PhD, and I've been at home with the kids. And so once he landed his first job, he was 35.
Yeah.
So we have a small savings account, but we don't have any of the 401k and things like that. But I feel like we need to be maximizing investments, and we're just not sure like where to start because we've just really got our first home, and some of those things are starting to come together, but we don't know where to go next.
Yeah, well, it's a great question. And listen, a lot of people are resonating with what you're saying, so don't feel bad about that. I think the key is that you're acknowledging, listen, we're starting a little later than we would have liked to, although we did the things we felt like the Lord was leading us to do, and we had some schooling, and you have spent time investing in your family. Those are all great things, and you've still got plenty of time if you're willing to live modestly and below your means to create margin so that you can take advantage of these really key years for compounded growth. What types of retirement accounts are available to him at work now? Does he have one?
Is that like a 401k?
Yes,
Like,
exactly.
I think that's what he has. He has a 401k.
Okay.
But I
and
don't
is he,
know. I know his company is matching what he puts in,
Yeah. Okay.
but I
Good.
don't know beyond that.
Yeah. So I think the key would be for you guys to max that out if you can. You absolutely want to take advantage of the matching at a minimum. I think the goal is probably 10 to 15% of his pay for you all to be putting in there as the employee contribution, and then they'll match on top of that up to the limits. Remember, you can put in for 2025, as much as $23,500 for this year. So you can put in quite a bit. And then you guys would each be able to have Roth IRAs beyond that. So, for 2025, you could put in $7,000 into a Roth IRA. And even as a stay-at-home mom, as a spouse, you can have a Roth as well. So, that would allow you to put in $14,000 between the two Roths. And then, that's on top of the $23,500 that he can put into the 401k. And then that's not even counting the employer match. So that's $37,500 plus the employer match. Now you may say, Rob, we don't have the ability to do that, and that's fine. We've got to just kind of work with what we have, and you have other priorities like, giving and being able to, accomplish other goals. But the good news is you've got plenty of contribution limit that you can take advantage of as you're able. And so I would say, a good option would be probably to start with maxing out the match at the employer's 401k. And then I might pivot over to two Roth IRAs between the two of you, that $14,000 between the two. And then if you have the ability to do more than the match plus the 14 in the Roths, then maybe come back to the 401k and continue contributing more.
Okay. And what about children's accounts? I think their college is pretty much covered from, my husband's a professor, so we're just planning for them to go to college, where he is teaching. So we're not really focusing so much on like an education savings plan. We, Lord willing, he still has that position. We're kind of banking on that, I guess. Would you say, okay, then go ahead and open up a Roth IRA in their name, something to set aside for them for just to grow? Like, is it silly to take just a small amount of money and put it in a Roth IRA for your kids just in case? Or do you need to have like a substantial amount of money?
Yeah.
Because I'd say our income is pretty moderate. We're right at around $100K a year.
Okay.
So it's not like we have a ton of extra to be putting in several accounts.
Yeah, it's a great
what would you say
question,
about-
Megan. I probably would not. First of all, in order to have Roth IRAs for them, they'd have to have earned income. And I suspect they're still young, right?
Right, yes, they are very young.
Yeah. So they couldn't even have Roth IRAs. And because college is likely covered, I think just given what you're saying about a modest income and playing a little bit of catch up, which again, you're not in bad shape, you just need to get started. I would prioritize your long-term retirement savings before saving for the kids. There's other ways to cover the cost of college, even if it's not fully covered through your husband's employment, but there's not other ways to pay for retirement. So I would really prioritize your long-term savings and giving and other goals before the kids at this point.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Hey, I want to send you a book. It's Ron Blue's classic, Master Your Money. I think it'll be an encouragement to you and your husband as you just kind of understand some of the fundamentals of biblical money management. So stay on the line, Megan. We'll get your information and we'll put Master Your Money in the mail to you. Thanks for being on the program today. Well, hey, before we finish up today, an unexpected treat. Our production manager here at FaithFi, Taylor Standrich, is in the office today. He normally works remotely out of Texas, where there's all kinds of allergies these days, I understand.
Apparently, yeah.
But he's here today. Taylor, I'm so glad you're in the studio. Good morning.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here as always.
Hey, we've got, as you know, just a minute left, but you're a radio guy, so that's no sweat for you. You mentioned a gift that your wife gave you of some widow's mites, and I'd love for you to finish today by just telling us quickly about that, and then just maybe one takeaway for our audience.
Yeah, I would just say, as we look at the story in Mark 12 and Luke 21, I look at this small coin, and I just think, wow, this coin represents something that can really rival God. And if you know what a widow's mite looks like, it's like a third the size of a penny. And we see that this story, the most prominent example of generosity, is this woman giving 2 copper coins out of and into the temple treasury. It tells us that Jesus cares more about the heart than the size of the gift. And so I just want to encourage anyone who's listening today that whatever you can give, the impact that your gift has is not up to you, it's up to God.
Wow, that is a powerful idea and a great way to finish our broadcast today. What a reminder that it's not about the amount, it's about the heart. He's always been about our hearts, and he always will be. And our financial stewardship is one of the key ways he shapes our spiritual journey. Lean into that, folks. Don't miss it. Taylor, thanks for your thoughts.
Absolutely.
All right. That's Taylor Stanrich, and along with everybody here at Faith Fi, including Devin Patrick and Sandy Dickinson and Jim Henry, we want to say a big thanks to those folks. Thanks for being along with us today. Enjoy the rest of your day. Come back and tune in tomorrow. We'll do it all over again. Until then, God bless you. Bye-bye.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
90.5 KTXG, Greenville, Dallas.
Could speak, what would he say? The Bible subjects itself to historical verification.
He says, we saw this.
We go to the Bible wanting to hear what the living God has to say to us.
When God speaks, what does he say?
The God who speaks. Visit stream.afa.net. This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. More tariffs are set to go into effect on April 2nd, including retaliatory tariffs and a 25% tariff on all auto imports. Madeline Rivera has more from Washington.
There is still some information we don't know, including how many countries will be affected by those reciprocal tariffs and how these levies will be imposed. Will they be product by product duties? Will they be a broader average of all items from each country? The White House says the tariffs will correct unfair trade practices as they accuse other countries of ripping the U.S. off. Wall Street has been on a bit of a wild ride as it braces for these tariffs, but the White House is betting tariffs will eventually pay off for the American worker because they say companies will be incentivized to build their products in the U.S.
Wisconsin voters will decide today who will fill their state Supreme Court vacancy. Brooke Seaman reports.
The court's ideological balance rides on today's election, but it is the massive amount of money poured in to this race that has caught everyone's attention. The race has brought in a record-breaking $90 million, making it the most expensive in history. At least 20 million of those dollars have come from Elon Musk. Musk even handed out $1 million checks to 2 supporters who signed a petition against activist judges. Meanwhile, voters will also head to the polls in Florida this morning for 2 special elections to decide who will fill former Congressman Matt Gaetz and Mike Waltz's vacant seats.
Elon Musk has been working through the Department of Government Efficiency to eliminate fraud and abuse in government spending. But for some reason, a lot of people on the left don't like that. Fox News contributor Charlie Hurt went to a protest to find out why they are opposed to DOGE.
He's a fascist because he is blatantly trying to dismantle democracy in the U.S.
Are you concerned about waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government?
Not particularly.
Have you been on the DOGE website to look at some of the waste, fraud, and abuse that they're trying to cut out?
No.
Why not?
Because I don't believe anything they would put out.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt.
Unfortunately, our fellow Americans in that clip are wildly uninformed. To the First Woman's comments, Elon Musk is not trying to dismantle democracy. Elon Musk, at the direction of President Trump and President Trump's entire cabinet, is trying to save democracy. The United States of America will cease to exist. Our government will fail if we continue to go down the road of bankruptcy that we have been heading on for decades.
4 Harris County, Texas Sheriff's deputies have committed suicide in the last 6 weeks. Steve Jordahl reports it's a tragic and all too common occurrence in U.S. law enforcement. But there are organizations that are working hard to reverse the trend.
Deputies Long Win, Christina Kohler, Maria Vasquez, and William Bozeman all took their own lives between February 6th and March 19th. Randy Sutton of the Wounded Blue says official statistics record between 150 and 200 law enforcement personnel committing suicide every year.
The law enforcement suicide rate is very, very high. We've seen a high suicide rate for a number of years.
But he says the official number is almost certainly too low.
It's very difficult to keep track because many of the actual suicides aren't reported as such. There's a terrible statistic, and that is that 3 to 5 times the number of officers who are killed in the line of duty will die by their own hand.
His nonprofit, the Wounded Blue, specializes in helping suicidal or similarly stressed officers.
These officers feel alone in their feelings. They think that they are isolated, that it's only them that are going through these issues, and it is the farthest thing away from the truth.
The Wounded Blue has a 24-hour hotline to help distressed officers, and the counselors are trained how to get these men and women more extended counseling and place them in appropriate mental health programs.
And that's really our mainstay, is letting these officers have someone to talk to who understands what they are going through.
Find out more at thewoundedblue.org. I'm Steve Jordahl.
An employer has posted 7.6 million job openings in February, a sign that the job market is slowing but remains healthy. More news online at afn.net and on the AFN mobile app. I'm Rusty Pugh.
Hi, this is Jim Scudder.
And this is Karen Scudder, and I want to invite you to join us in Dallas.
Yeah, all of you that listen on American Family Radio here in Dallas, we're coming here at the end of April, the last Saturday of April, and you can get free tickets to what we're calling Gather in Grace on our website, ingraceradio.com, ingraceradio.com. Enter the promo code DALLAS to get your free tickets. We'd love to see you.
Movie. Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildman, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Today's Issues. During this Tuesday, April the 1st, 2025. And I'm not kidding. Joining me in studio, see what I did there?
You're not kidding that I'm joining you in studio?
No, I'm not kidding because it's April 1st.
Okay.
See what I did?
I did see what you did there.
Wesley Wildman. Good morning, Wesley.
Good morning. I was not creative enough to come up with any April Fool's jokes, so.
Have you been,
I didn't even realize it was April 1st.
So have you been a victim or you don't know yet?
As of today, no. In the past, yes.
Yes.
Not
Chris
today.
Woodward. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning. It just occurred to me that because of the time difference, like people in Australia, it's already April the 2nd there. So like, is it underwhelming in...
That's a good question. That's fair.
Most of the world is on April 1st right now, with the exception of Australia.
You know, Chris, in 1,000 things I would have said there, and yours was not one of them.
There are some random things that pop into my head from time to time, and that's one of them. It's a blessing and a curse.
Hey, Ray Pritchard. Good morning.
Good morning, Tim. How you doing today?
We're doing great. Haven't heard from you in a while. Where you been?
Been out and about. Been in Alabama and Florida, teaching the Bible down there for a couple of weeks at the Bible Conference and the Bible Institute, and drove down there and drove back. And, you know, I got to say this. I wish to file an April Fool's protest about the weather, Tim. It feels like the weather right now is one great big April Fool's joke here in the middle of the country. It's just, you know.
What's it doing there in Kansas City?
Right now it's cold or chilly, I guess, and we're going to get tornadoes and the hail and the wild winds. They've ratcheted it up to number 3, whatever that is on their scale, right. You know. So it feels like I'm trying to find a way to file a protest against April Fool's weather.
I know, right?
I can't get anybody to answer the phone.
That's funny.
Well, I've been victimized by people using the April Fools in the past, but rarely.
Yeah, rarely.
Rarely. But
one I wanted to get my brother on. I guess we'll have to wait to 2026. But he was Walker Wildman. My brother was a massive part in our new building construction. And what I want to do one day. Wait, is he going to hear this? You think?
No, he's in a meeting.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't think he listens to our show.
No one tell him.
No one tell him. What I want to do in April 1st, 2026, which I just failed to do this year, is put a sheet of paper on his desk that has to do with the reconstruction of the current building and how we were going to knock out some walls and move some things around.
But he'll have a panic attack.
But I wanted to make it as official as possible.
And well, you need to sign your name to the bottom of it. Not mine, because he's going to come in there and go, "What in the world is going on here?" But yeah, that would be
a good one. That'd be a great April Fool. I've never been really good at practical jokes, but because I get just far enough to where my face gives it away, because I feel bad. I feel like if I carry this any further, I may get. They may hit me.
Right.
Or they
Right. Then you're going to have to tell them, no, it's a joke.
Yes,
joke.
That's it.
All right. Well, good to have you back with us, Ray, and give us a good word from the scriptures today.
Hey, let's go to Exodus chapter 4. That's the story, Tim, where Moses is about to go before Pharaoh, and he does not want to go. In fact, if you read in one light, Exodus 3 and 4, one of the most human parts of the Bible, because here's Moses, he's 80 years old, and God says, I want you to go and speak to Pharaoh, a cold-blooded killer, right? The most powerful, ruthless man in the world. Moses, I can't do it, I can't speak, my tongue is heavy, I stutter and all this, and God says, I made you, and he says, I killed a man, I got a bad reputation, my own people don't want me, I have called you, now go and do it. And there's this back and forth between God and Moses, which when you read it, you go, I get it, You're taking your life in your hands. Pharaoh looks at you wrong, cross-eyed. You're going to be dead before you can get out of there. So he doesn't want to do it. And you get the feeling finally God's had it. Yeah, I do think maybe with all of us, Tim, there comes moments when God says, okay, son, enough.